So whole body class and fairly easy, a little bit of stretching and a little bit of attention to tight hips as well, which is quite nice. So a new protocol is to work on tightness through the piriformis, through the hip muscles. So start with a vagal release, and we'll just put the hands at the back of the head. Just feel like the head is settled in the hands, and you just, without moving your skull, you're just looking up to the right elbow, and you're just waiting for the sigh to swallow the yawn. I got mine quite quickly today. So just stay there, just give it a good sort of 30 seconds just to really get into the eyes. So lifting the arms up and the hands up to the head helps the release because it stretches your diaphragm. So we hold an awful lot of stress in this part of our body. And so if this exercise has got a strength, it's that the hands are up and you get that uplift in your rib cage, and then you get the nice stretch in the diaphragm and the solar plexus. So come back into center, close your eyes for a minute, and then look up to the left elbow. Without moving the skull, you want to feel that slightly uncomfortable stretch in the eyes. So if it's not uncomfortable, you're probably not looking strongly enough at the elbows. So there's my yawn. I got a yawn on this side, which is unusual for me because I do these releases fairly often. So just stay there. Give it a good 30 seconds. So you're getting that lovely stretch into the diaphragm. You can take some really deep breaths. That helps as well. Nose breathing is always better than mouth breathing. So try, I mean, it's something we do without thinking about it, but as much as possible, try and breathe through the nose, especially if you're feeling a bit stressed. Come back into center and then just release the arms. Just roll the shoulders, move the head from right to left. So these hip releases, you're going to go really gentle at first. Scoot forward to the front of your chair, and you're going to just put your right foot on your left knee. And for me, I'm really tight in my hips today. I'm really stiff in my back. So you want to be just very gentle. You're going to hold your knee, hold your foot. So that's giving you your two edges. So that makes your brain think about where the middle is. And then I want you not to drop your head because that stretches your back, and your back might be already really tight in this position. I want you to bring your belly button towards that midpoint on your shin. So you keep the stretch in the hips, in the piriformis, but out of the back. So on a bad day, if you were to lean forward and drop your head, your back might not like it, and you might end up creating more of a problem than you're solving. So this is a really, really strong stretch, and you don't want to do it for very long. So little and often, you ease back, and then now you're going to take your right hand to your big toe, and you're going to, if you're tight like me, I'm going to put my hand on my toe and my hand on my hand. So I get a stretch up the back of the arm, down the shoulder blade, and down the long muscles of my back to my sit bone. Some people are really flexible. You could maybe reach forward in line with your big toe and just find a stretch that feels good. For me, that doesn't feel good today, so I'm going to stay in the easy 60% range. So really short, you're not going to hold for too long. You're going to come back into center. Uncross the leg. Try the other side. Okay, so again, and a really good indication, I'll take my hands out of the way, is where is your knee? If your knee's down here, you're pretty nicely balanced to those hip muscles. Your knee's up here, you're chronically tight. I'm in the middle somewhere. So hold the foot, hold the knee. So you think about the two end ranges, and then you're moving your belly button towards the middle of your shin bone without dropping your head. So that means you're coming into an anterior pelvic tilt. Okay, so keep it out of the back. The back doesn't want to be involved in this. It's already a very strong stretch. Okay, not for too long, 20 seconds most. And then now you're going to take the hand to the big toe. Just assess up the arm, down the shoulder blade, down those long muscles of your back to your sit bone. I'm a little bit looser on this side in the back, so I'm going to reach forward. So just assess, see how it feels. So on this side, I can feel it just in my hip. On the other side, I can feel it in my back as well. So these are the sort of things you're asking yourself. Come back into center, uncross. So we're going to do that 3 times, but not for very long. So each time you do it, it should get a little easier. Hold the foot and the knee. Think belly button to mid shin. So definitely a little bit more comfortable on the second one. This protocol of 3 exercises is really good to do if you're sitting for long periods of time and you want to just, it takes only a minute or so to do these 3 exercises and then you carry on with your day. So now you're reaching to the big toe, opposite hand, well, same side hand, but opposite side of the body. Maybe you're reaching forward. So on this one, I can sort of, I might come back to the foot because I'm not convinced that that's a good idea just yet. Try and think of that 60% range of motion. 20 seconds. You don't want to do this on a sofa. If you sit on a sofa rather than a hard chair, you're going to drop down too low, which is going to bring your low back into quite a strong stretch, which could make it, you know, impossibly strong. So just a nice firm seat. Make sure the other foot is grounded on the floor. You don't want the chair so high the feet are not touching the floor. Belly button to mid shin. It's one of those protocols that it might not feel great while you're doing it, but when you stand up and walk around afterwards, you're going to feel a lot better. Okay, short and sweet. Change sides one last time. So I'm finding it easier to get the foot onto the knee now. Still got a fairly high knee there. And belly button to mid shin. So it helps to keep the head up. If you drop the head, your spine is already coming into flexion. I mean, if you try one with your head down, if you've got a tight back, you're going to feel straight away that you don't want to go to that degree of stretching. Should be feeling it in the hip, in the back of the pelvis. Okay, and then reaching. So it's getting much easier now to reach, which means my long back muscles are starting to relax a little bit. Okay, so changing last time, foot on the knee. The knees dropped a little bit, that's good. Hand on the knee, hand on the foot. Belly button to mid shin, anterior pelvic tilt. So if your belly button is in front of your sit bones, that means it's impossible for your spine to go into a rounded spine, into a flexed spine. It's impossible for your back muscles to start to jump into this. So it's a really good technique to make sure all of the stretches are a lot safer. So now you're reaching. You're trying to feel the stretch from your fingers through the arm, through the shoulder blade, down those long muscles of your back. See if you can make that connection from the fingers to the sit bone. Gently come out of it. So just take the foot down. So now we're going to come to standing. We're going to bring that in arm. We've got the chair there if you want to hold. We're going to bring in our yoga mat, a yoga block. We'll put that to one side for a minute. Second exercise, you're going to take your right foot behind your left foot. The chair's there if you feel wobbly. You're going to pull your tummy in below the belly button, and you're going to take 2 hands down towards the foot that's at the back, the right foot, and just feel the stretch through glute medius, hamstrings, glute medius into the back. So the glutes are stretching, and then you contract your abs and your glutes to come back up. You can do that 5 times. So abs are engaged moderately. You're reaching down to the big toe on the foot that's behind the right foot. You'll feel it up the leg, through the muscles of the hip, through the glutes. You're still in an anterior pelvic tilt. Your belly button is still forward. And come back up. If you're feeling it in the back, you could think that you're moving your belly button towards your big toe to keep the pelvis in that anterior tilt. Strong abs and contract your bottom muscles to come up. So what you're doing is you're eccentrically loading your glute medius. So you're working your glute medius as it lengthens rather than as it shortens. So as you go down, glute medius is lengthening. And then as you come up, it's shortening and it's contracting, if that makes sense. So one more time. You've got an eccentric contraction of your glute medius. And then you've got a concentric contraction where the muscle gets shorter and you come back in. So just take the feet now to slightly apart and now take your left foot behind. So it's the foot at the back is the one that's getting the stretch. So you've got your two hands together, a little bit of abs so that you feel comfortable in this. Really slow on the first one. Think belly button to big toe. Don't go too strong. And then contract your abs, contract your glutes to come back up. I'm going to bring my feet a little bit closer together. The leg at the front, the foot at the front is helping you to balance. So tummy engaged, rolling down, stretch towards belly button towards big toe. Feel the glute medius stretching, lengthening, and then shortening, contracting. So the muscle is loaded because you're using the weight of your upper body. As you go down, you could eventually advance this to holding a sort of a small dumbbell so that you really strengthen up glute medius. But in the beginning, it's not enough just to stretch, contract. So one more time. Reaching down. So when your back is really out of balance, when your SI joints are really out of balance, glute medius gets very, very cramped up and locked up. So it's really good to look at glute medius and keep an eye on it. So now bring your yoga mat in. So we've done the stretching, we've done the eccentric, concentric contractions. So now we're going to just work on strength. So you're going to take your left leg to the inside of the block, and you want a block is ideal or a book that you can keep both knees locked. You don't want to bend your knees, and you should be able to touch the floor and feel comfortable in your back. So if I try this on 2 yoga blocks, my back hurts. That's too deep. So find the depth that you're comfortable with. To be using a book, you need to just play around with the right book. So at the moment, you've got one ASIS low, one high. So you're going to bring the foot that's on the floor, you're going to bring the leg up to the hips are level. And then you're going to hike that hip up towards your shoulder without bending that left knee. And you're going to come down. So if you need a chair for balance, you're hiking the hip up to the shoulder. Oops. And come back down. So make sure you don't bend this left knee, otherwise it will go away from the hips and the glutes into some other muscle. You're hiking up and come back down. So what happens is the pelvis is rolling over the top of the head of the femur in the hip, and the glute on this side, glute medius, contracts, and then it relaxes. So hip comes up, glute medius contracts, you get that lovely internal, external stretch on the hip. And again, so you're doing 10, and you want to feel just mild fatigue in the muscles at the back of your pelvis, glute medius. Piriformis a little bit, but not really. If you feel piriformis, it's probably just because it's tight and maybe weak. So I forgot to count, but this is about 7. This is 8, 9. So we're speeding up a little bit now. And I can feel this bottom is starting to fatigue. 10. So then bring your body over to the other side. Right foot. So lock your knee, don't bend your knee, lock it. See if you can touch the floor and still feel comfortable in your spine. And then, so one ASIS is down, one is up. You come up to level, whoops, and then you come up towards the shoulder. And you come down. So up to level, up to the shoulder. So assess how it feels on this side. We're doing 10. So if you've got one side where you don't really feel the bottom muscle working, oftentimes that's because you've got impingement on the nerve into the muscle, and that means that muscle's not really talking to the brain, and it's slightly weaker as well. So you want that muscle to wake up to the brain, back to the nervous system. You want that muscle to get strong. So these single leg exercises are really good so that we can address these issues. If you've got a stronger leg, that stronger leg is always going to be working a little bit more than the weaker leg. And you don't notice that until you do these unilateral exercises and you suddenly think, oh my gosh, there's quite a difference there. I've got to count. I think there's about 8. I'm going by how it feels in my glute because this is my lazy side. 9. So you want to feel a little bit of fatigue in this muscle, which means your brain is taking notice of that muscle. So if you're doing it at home and you don't feel fatigue, maybe you do a few more until you do. So just taking the block away. So you won't notice it at first, but as you move around, you'll feel a lot better in your hips. Once you learn that protocol, it only takes a couple of minutes to do the piriformis stretch, the reach, the cross leg stretch, and then the hip hikes. And just do that as, you know, once or twice a day, just to keep nice and flexible and strong in your hips. So coming into the Cossack, we've got the feet on the floor again, we're grounded. We're folding the arms. So again, we've got our elbows, our end range. So we want to come to the midpoint, which for me is my bangle. And keep the nose lined up with that midpoint and just do a nice gentle rotation and come back into center. Go the other way. It's always really good doing this in seated. Nothing's going to move below the belly button. So that means you get really lovely stretch through the lumbar spine, through the thoracic spine. So you're looking at that midpoint because in the beginning, you don't want your neck vertebra to be moving independently because they're going to try to do all the work. So once you've got a good feel for your lumbar spine and your thoracic spine, if your neck's okay with it, you could rotate and you could look behind you. So at the looking in at the end, not at the beginning. So you grow tall, you rotate, and then you look behind. So that way you've got a much better way of gauging if your neck is comfortable with the degree of rotation that you've chosen, rather than initiating the movement from the neck and maybe overextending through the thoracic and the lumbar spine. The head, the body follows the head. So if the head is leading, you might go further than you should and not feel the feedback in time to stop yourself overextending. Come back into center. So come forward a bit on your chair. We've got the waiter. So we're going to open and lift our heart, keep our elbows squeezed to the side of the ribs, keep our chin slightly tucked, and then cross the hands, cross the wrists, and looking down into the belly. So you breathe in as you open. You're breathing out as you cross. So this is a thoracolumbar exercise, but you know, as you move your head around, there's cervical vertebrae in here as well. And if you swing the tailbone out, you bring in the sacral as well. So whole spine movement, looking in, tucking under through the tail, looking up, swinging out through the tailbone. Tucking under, let the breath guide you. You breathe in as you open. It's going to give you greater expansion in the rib cage. Breathe out and deepen your belly as you go into flexion. So breathe in extension, let the tailbone swing out. Breathe out flexion, contract your abs, you get even more stretch in your back. So you notice, breathe in, you notice as you breathe out that the stretch in the back is greater. And you get that much deeper abdominal contraction. So try breathing out, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. That's one, breathing in. Last time, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. and come back into your middle position. So another quick exercise that's really good if you're sitting for long periods. Put your hands under the chair, and we're just going to take the right hand over and come back into center. So as you hold the underside of the chair, you should feel the kinetic connection through the arm, through the shoulder, up into the neck. Okay, so as the arm goes over, drop the sit bone on the same side. Add the in-breath into the stretching side of your rib cage. Exhale. Breathing in. Breathing out. So using the chair is often it's often seen as an easier way of doing an exercise, but you can use the chair to your advantage to make this a much better isolation. So now come into your mermaid, drop the sit bone, but now look into your armpit and just bring in some of those back neck muscles and then come back in. So the muscles at the back of the neck, better way to say that. So coming up and over, drop the sit bone and then rotate the nose down to the armpit. Gently come out 2 more times. Mermaid first, rotation into the armpit. 1 more. Mermaid first, drop the sit bone, looking down into the armpit and come back to center. So now right hand holds under the chair, really gentle on the first one. Try and find that kinetic connection through the arm, through the shoulder into the neck as you pull against the underside of your chair. And then you're dropping your sit bone into the chair as you take the arm up. You're breathing into that stretching side of your rib cage. Chin is slightly tucked. And again, breathe in. Breathe out. 1 more of these. Breathing in. Drop the sit bone. Breathing out. So now come up into your mermaid. Drop the sit bone and rotate your nose downwards to look into the armpit and gently come out 3 more times. Up and over, drop the sit bone, rotate and look into the armpit and come back. And again, mermaid, drop the sit bone, rotate the nose into the armpit, come back, last one, up and over, rotate nose, and come back into center. So hug the tree and lift the heart. It's just another version of the waiter. Hug the tree, flexion, extension. Hug the tree, flexion, thoracic extension, thoracic extension. 1 more. Hug the tree and lift the heart, extension, and come back down. So we're going to turn sideways on the chair. We're going to work our abs eccentrically. So eccentric means as you lengthen. So usually when we do ab work, we're contracting our abs and we're working them as they shorten. But in this exercise, we're going to focus on the outward movement. So you're going to get hold under your knee. You're going to lift the leg up so you're not using your abs or your hip flexors. And you're just going to roll back to sort of a half roll back position. Deepen your abs, float your arms, and then you're going to lower your knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you don't want to make the leg longer, and then contract your abs to come up. So that's the normal way, and that is a crunch as we come up. That's a shortening of our abs. So float the knee, half roll back. Deepen your abs as you let go of the leg, and you focus at the knee. You're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a crunch. You use your abs to come back up. Hold the knee, float the knee, half roll back. So once you know what you're doing, you're looking forward. Deepen your abs as you take your hands away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then crunching, you're coming up. Hold the knee. So it starts off relatively easy, So then you start to notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abs strong, come back up. There's that achy sensation at the front of your spine. That's your psoas. So float the knee, half roll back, deepen the abs, lower the knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abdominal crunch to come back up. So this is 6. We'll do 8. Deepen the abs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abdominal work to come back up. Float the knee 2 more times. So as you eccentrically strengthen your psoas muscle, it's going to really help your back feel more balanced. So one last time. Float. So when you've got a tight back, sometimes it's the muscles at the front of the spine are too short, they're too tight, they're pulling on the back, stopping the back being in its true neutral position. So you should feel a little bit achy there. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do the other side. You could do it the same way, but I'm just doing it for artistic license. So you're going to float the other knee, the left knee. You're going to come into a half roll back position. I can feel straight away that this side is going to be a little bit harder for me. And you're coming down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abdominal crunch, come back up. So we're doing 8. So float the knee, half roll back, extend the arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Crunch to come back up. Float the knee, half roll back. So you want to be passive as you go into that roll back so that your hip flexors in the legs and the hip are not working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back up. Otherwise, they're going to dominate your psoas and your rectus abdominis as well. So float, half roll back, extend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back up. 4 more. Float the knee. Half roll back. Whoops. I'm finding it a little bit harder here to balance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. You just feel there's a subtle difference from right side to left side. 3 more. Half roll back. Feel a little bit unstable in this position. Take the hands out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these sort of things happen when you've got back issues. 2 more. Half roll back. You start to get a little bit weaker on one side than the other as those muscles, the nerves of those muscles are being pressed upon. 3, 4, 5. So I can really feel now my abs are working. Last one. Float the knee. Find that position that you can roll to. Take the hands away. Deepen the abs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and come back into sitting. And I just feel like I want to extend and stretch a little bit. So it's a sort of a twerk without the arms. So I can just feel my abs were quite tight after I did that, and that's a good thing, okay? So we'll get rid of our chairs. So coming into seated, and you've got a half roller or just an ordinary towel that you could roll up. So really the towel becomes like a roller, but it's a little bit softer and it's nice to use. So coming into the end of the mat, we'll do some roll backs again. So we're going to tuck our ribs under, half roll back, and then pull the belly up under the ribs, come back into upright sitting. So tucking under, drop the chin, pull the belly in, and come back into upright sitting. So you're tucking under the ribs at the front. So that tuck of the rib cage at the front really brings you into a lovely C curve in the spine. And take notice that as you roll back, transversus abdominis, but as you come into an upright sit position, your psoas has to contract quite strongly. And some people find it quite hard to sit with their shoulders over the pelvis because they're quite tight in the back and they're quite weak in the psoas. One more. So let's come back into upright sit. You could pull yourself in, take the hands away, see if you can stay there. So just push yourself back a bit on your mat. See now if we could do a half roll back. So this is very much like what we did in the chair. And then we extend our legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we draw back in. 1, 2, 3, 5. And we come up into upright sit. So you want a nice straight back. You don't want to be slumping. You don't want your shoulders behind your hips. You can't come into this position, then pull with your hands, get yourself into a really straight spine, and then see if you can take your hands away and just stay there for a bit. So half roll back, don't go too far. Then you slide the legs out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You come back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You come up into upright sit. And if you need to pull in a bit, hands away. So again, half roll back, sliding out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back 2, 3, 4, 5. Upright sit. A little bit of a pull. There's always more there than you realise, and see if you could stay there. So last one, half roll back. Feet go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They come back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You come up into upright sit. Pull your chest forward. Get your hands away. See if you can stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you start to feel your psoas and where it is. And drop your head. Shorten your abs. Just take a nice breath into the upper back. Slowly come back up into upright sit again. So scoot to the end of your mat. We're going to grab our rolled up towel. And we're going to do a slow roll down to the floor. Pull the belly to the back of the ribs, controlling that last bit of the roll. And then we're going to take the towel into our lumbar curve so that we really protect our back in the rollover. We're going to take our hands wide. We're going to float our knees one at a time, ankles crossed. And we're going to focus on the movement towards the head and see if we can get our tailbone to lift a little bit. Pull the belly up under the ribs, come back through to center, and then slightly lower the legs, but not so much that you feel uncomfortable in your back. So you're not going to touch the floor. So you're going to pull up through the pelvic floor, pull the belly button to the back of the ribs. You're coming up to wherever. The point that you're looking for is the point before your neck starts to become overactive. When you feel it in your neck, you've gone too far. And slowly back down, control, control. You're coming to the point where you're loading the abs, but not arching your back. So for me, that's about there. So coming up, pulling the belly up under the ribs, pulling the pelvis into the rib cage. Feel that deep contraction of your abs. So this is transversus abdominis, and then you're coming down, you're finding that point where you feel the load in the abs, but not too much in the back. So that's a little bit six-pack muscles there, and you're curling up. You could add at the neck, stay there a little bit longer than you want to, slowly down. So the more you strengthen your abs, the happier abs and glutes, the happier your back muscles become, because they've got everything in place to support them and to stabilize. Slowly down, my abs are definitely complaining now. And you come to that point where your knees are pointing to the ceiling, and then uncross your ankles, take one foot down, take the other foot down. Slide the towel down to the back of your pelvis. Really nice for glute medius, because glute medius can be quite tight. So you're just going to float the knees again, keep your knees together, and you're just gently going to move your knees from right to left. So that's going to give you a nice massage across the back of the pelvis. So from the rib of the back of the pelvis to about 2/3 of the way down, you've got glute medius. Okay, so I'm just giving it a nice massage. You could turn that into a small circle. The circle is going to make this abdominal work. Nice and small, and then go the other way. So it's a very controlled movement, but it's good ab work, and you're still massaging glute medius. Change direction again. So try and make it small and controlled, so you feel it in your abs. So I can feel from the ribs down is working in this position, and especially in my pelvis at the front, without it jumping into anything else. You don't want to feel it in your back or your SI joints. Change direction, and then come into center and just give yourself a little squeeze. Let your abs relax in your back stretch. Mini marching, another one that's good for glute medius. You're going to just let the knees swish past each other, but keep them quite close. So you don't want to make it a great big move like this. That's too much for your back. Just a little tiny swish, swish, swish. And then you're going to hold your pelvis with your hands. You're going to slightly move to the right, bring in those abs, come back through center, slightly moving over to the left. So that's going to bring the abs into more work, but it's also going to get into one side at the back of the pelvis, and then the other side. Come back into center, and then keep the toes together, but just let one knee fall out, and then deeply imprint your abs to come back up. Let the other knee fall out, deeply imprint abs to come back up. So the left knee falls out, deeply imprint below the belly button, abs into spine as you come back up. Right knee falls out, everything below the belly button falls down into spine. Left knee falls out. Come back in, right knee falls out, come back in. How about opening both knees, feet together, and then deeply imprint your abs to draw your knees and thighs together. Keep your femurs, your leg bones, pointing up to the ceiling, vertical, or even slightly towards your chest, but not hanging down and away. That puts load into the back. So you're opening, and then deeply imprint your abs. It's a bit like a book that closes. The book opens, the feet stay together, and then the book closes. So keep the toes together to keep it easier for the back. Close the knees, pull the belly down into the spine, opening, close the knees, pull the belly down, open, close the knees, think inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor, low abs, opening, closing, inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor, low abs. I'm going to do one more, opening, inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor, low abs, and bring those knees in and give yourself a good stretch. Lovely. So really good ab work there. So taking the feet to the floor. Take your right leg up and just point and flex. Just stretching your calves, your Achilles, your hamstrings. Ankle circles, and just move your toes and find the tendons in the feet that go down to the toes. You can see them as you move your toes around. Go the other way. So really articulate your ankles. We all want flexible ankles. It's really important for our walking and our safety in walking. And then come to center, just bend the knee, push the heel to the ceiling, drop the sit bone into the towel, push the back of the hand into the knee. So do about 10 of those. Just stretch and stretch into those 3 different directions, heel to ceiling, sit bone into towel, back of the knee into the hand. It's 9. That's 10. So just bring that knee in a minute, just hug the knee, and then take the foot to the floor, slide the leg down, turn the big toe out until you feel it in the hip, and then take both arms overhead and stretch, drop your chin, take a nice breath. And then as you exhale, relax, bring the hands back, bring your big toe back up towards the ceiling, glide your heel back in. Other side, hold behind the knee, and just start with point and flex, calves, Achilles, a little bit of hamstrings. We often don't notice how tight we are until we do these stretches. Ankle circles and wriggle your toes and try and find the tendons that run down the foot to the toes. Feel like you're moving each one, go the other way. So then you come into that central position, you bend your knee, you push into the back of the hand, you push the heel to the ceiling, drop the sit bone into the towel. So just keep pressing, releasing, and press, release, and press, release, and press, release. This is 7. This is 8. 9, last one, 10. Take the foot to the floor, slide it down, turn the big toe outward so you feel it in the inside at the top of your inside of your leg bone, and you're taking your hands overhead. You're going to take a really nice long stretch of the body. Take a deep breath. Exhale, relax. Bring the hands back, bring the toe back towards the ceiling, glide the heel back in. Staying on the towel, float the right leg up, and you're going to let the leg fall across the body, let the leg fall outwards, and just find the range that when you're holding your pelvis doesn't move. Just opening up the leg muscles, inner thighs, outer thighs, glutes, hamstrings are stretching in this as well. Not so much the quads, but everything else. So come back into center, turn out at the hip, and just draw a circle on the ceiling. Go around the clock, stop at 12. Go around the clock and stop at 12. Now around. And stop. This is 5, and stop. This is 6, and stop. Stay turned out and go in reverse. Around and stop 1. Around and stop 2. Around and stop 3. And 4. Feel like the leg bone is really heavy in the hip. So you get that deep-seated stretch in the hip. 1 more. Really good for the hip. And just hug that knee and just release. Take the foot to the floor. Hip space. Hold the pelvis. Float your left leg up to the ceiling. And the leg falls across the body. And it falls out. And again, hold your pelvis steady. So you're not moving in the pelvis or the spine. Keep the stretch in the hip and the leg. Keep it in a comfortable range. Going out, 1 more each. Falling in, falling out. Come back into center, turn out at the hip, and now draw your circle on the ceiling. 1, think of a clock, down, around, and up. 2, keep the pelvis nice and still. 3, and 4, and 5, we're doing 6, and 6, stay turned out in reverse, down, around, and up. 1, down, around, and up. 2, so a little bit easier with the towel here, down, around, and up. 3, just gives you a sense of support, and 4, and 5, and maybe just takes a little bit of tension out of some of those tight leg muscles. Last one, 6. Hug your knees, stretch. Should feel good. Okay, so take that leg back down. Just gently glide the towel forward out from under your pelvis. So we're going to bring the feet into hip space. So keep an eye on the time. Can't see my clock from here. So feet hip space, and we're going to float the knees one at a time. A little bit of a hollow in the small of the back. We'll do a single leg stretch and come back into toes touching. Single leg stretch and come back in. Single leg stretch, keeping it really simple. Head is down. So if you wanted to challenge yourself, you could try going a little bit lower. Make sure it stays in the abs, it doesn't jump into your back. You've still got that little bit of a hollow in the small of the back. You could just about slide your hands in there. Your back feels strong, it feels comfortable. Stay turned out in the hips so that your quads don't jump in and pull on the back. So one more time, right leg. One more time, left leg. Pull the shins in, little squeeze. So we'll take the feet down, 1 and 2. Keep our knees together. We'll turn sideways into side lying. We're going to just put the towel into the space between the ribs and the pelvis. So you don't want to feel pressure on that low rib. So you want to push it down a bit. So the pressure, if anything, is on the side of the pelvis. And we're going to, you could lie flat if your neck doesn't like being propped up. So maybe, in fact, we'll change that and we'll put our elbow under our shoulder. So there's a little bit of pressure on the towel. We'll do it this way. And we're going to just lift our top leg up, parallel, extend, come back in, and come back down. And just feel like you're lifting your waist away from that towel so that you're not slumping. So you're lifting the knee, you're extending. So this is glute medius again. You come back in, so we're strengthening glute medius. We've stretched it, we've balanced it, and now we're strengthening. Okay, we're going to do 10. Lift to parallel, contract, extend, come back in. You put your hand at the back of the hip. You can feel some activation there. This is 8. Keep lifting out of that towel. You don't want to be slumping into the towel. 1 more. And down. So carefully come to sitting. Change sides. Bring your towel with you. Elbow on the shoulder. So you can feel the towel, but you're not slumping into it because that's going to put all that force into your shoulder and your neck. So it's teaching you good posture. You're going to put your hand on the top hip. You're going to lift to parallel, load bearing, extend, back into knee fold and come back down. Lifting, extend, knee fold, and come down. Lifting, extend, fold, and down. Keep lifting away from the towel, extend, fold, and down. Lifting, extend, fold, and down. Lifting, I think this is 8. I always forget to count, but if you've got the numbers, you stick to your numbers. This is 9. You should be feeling your bottom muscles are getting quite active now. Last one, 10. And come back down. So carefully come to sitting. Change sides. So now, ankles and knees together, elbow under shoulder. Let's just slightly progress this, hand on the hip. See if you could lift your pelvis off the floor. See if you could lift the top knee. Knee to knee and come back down. Keep your chin slightly tucked, especially if you've got neck issues. So you lift your pelvis. You lift your knee and your foot. Knee down, hip down. So now you're working glute medius on the bottom side of your body. So you're lifting up, lifting knee, knee down, come back down. Maybe we'll just do 5. So again, lifting up. So this is 4. Lift the knee. You should be aware, come back down, that there's work going in this bottom side of your hip and your glutes. Last one, lifting, knee, knee down, come back down. So really working on strength here and balancing the muscles. So changing sides, elbow under shoulder. You don't want the elbow out here where it's going to push tension into your neck. You're lifting away from the towel, so the towel's there to remind you. Ankles and knees together. You're going to lift the hip. I'm a little bit weaker on this side. Lift the knee. Come back down. So if you're on a weaker side, just do it more slowly. Lift it. Lift the knee. Down. Okay, 3 more. Lifting, lifting, lowering, lowering. 2 more. Lifting, lifting, lowering, lowering. 1 more. Lifting, lifting, lowering, lowering. Well done. So that's how glutes work. So turn around onto your tummy. We're going to just extend our hands in front of us. Look down at the front of our mat so our chin is in a nice tucked position. And we're just going to feel heavy in the pelvis. Just extend our right arm and come back down. Extend our left arm. Come back down. Pelvis on the floor. Extend our right leg. So keep the front of the pelvis on the mat. Come back down. Pelvis on the floor. Extend our left leg and come back down. So you're just really noticing your flexibility. So we'll do that again. Right arm. How does it feel? Left arm. Pelvis stays on the mat as you lift your right leg. Pelvis stays on the mat as you lift your left leg. I can feel my left leg is not as mobile as my right leg. The arms are the same. So see now, if you could do right arm, left leg. So these sort of things change all the time. It's not always the same. Left arm, right leg. Right arm, left leg. It's a really good exercise for your spine. Left arm, right leg, because your spine is in neutral, your pelvis is in neutral, but everything is working. So just keep switching. Come back down. Keep your pelvis heavy on the floor, and you're going to just reach both arms and lift them up. You're going to bring the arms to the sides. You're going to reach them behind. You're going to bend your elbows, hands under your shoulders, and come down. So we'll do that again. We'll float the head, looking at the edge of your mat, front edge of your mat. Glide the hands out. Lift them up. Out to the sides. Stretch behind. Hands on the shoulders. You come back down. So a lot of upper back work. 2 more times. Float the head. Reaching forward. Bottom tight. Pelvis on the floor. Out to the side. Stretch behind. Hands under shoulders. Come back down. So you can feel those upper back muscles really starting to work now. So one last time. Pelvis on the floor. Bottom active. Reach the arms forward. Lift them up. Out to the side. Stretch behind. Bend your elbows. And nose comes back to the mat. Just place your hands under your forehead. Push your pelvis into the floor. And you're going to float both feet off the floor. And you're just going to do a little bit of a swimming movement with the legs. You're not bending your knees, and your bottom is really tight. You're breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good ab work, good back work. Come back down. Glide your elbows under your shoulders and just come into a sphinx position and just see how this feels. You could be looking down if your neck doesn't want to be looking forward. And just breathe. Breathing out. So we're just using the breath, we're not even moving. Breathing in. Breathing out. One more. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then just gently bring your head down. Glide your elbows forward. Hands to the edge of the mat. Feet to the edge of the mat. And now you're just going to press up into a swan or a cobra. And again, we're just going to stay here. We're going to breathe in deeply. Breathing out. Maybe we just feel a bit heavy in our pelvis. Breathing in. Do the stretch in the abs. Breathing out. One more time. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then just bring our chin into our neck. And we're just slowly rolling down. So it's quite nice just to stay in the position and just really focus on the muscles and the fascia stretching rather than the spine. Bring the knees together, hands on the shoulders, just push back into kneeling and just give ourselves a little bit of a stretch. And just checking the time. So Joseph Pilates, he always, in his classical classes, he always finished with a press up. So we'll do an easy press up. We'll put the hands under the shoulders, the knees together. Pull the belly up into the spine. Draw a line from thumb to thumb. We're lowering the nose to the thumb line. We're pressing away. Lowering the nose to the thumb line. Press away. In the press up, we're really focusing on maintaining neutral spine. So you don't want to be floppy in the spine. The abs are deeply imprinted, so that you stay very strong in your center while you work your chest, shoulders, upper back. We're doing 10. Breathe in, breathing out. So this is 8. 2 more. Breathing in, breathing out. 9. Last one. Breathing in, breathing out. Sit back into our heels. Just give ourselves a good stretch. We can press our palms into the floor. Take a really wide, low, deep breath into the sides of the rib cage. And as we breathe out, strong abs, just rolling up through the spine. And that was relatively easy Friday.